So now we have done taking pictures of the cakes and then the desserts, and then that is one half, but that is the main thing that we have learned. Now we cannot use the raw images like that, because sometimes depending on the quality of the sunlight or which time of the day we've taken the pictures, though we have set up a really good stage in which the backdrop is there, the reflectors there, but maybe that is a winter day and it is raining, and then you do not have enough sunlight, or maybe it is like too bright and then the cake is just getting bleached when you've taken the picture and all that. You're not going to have the same quality of the lighting if you're going to take the pictures in different days, right? So after the photograph has been taken, the next step is to move ahead to learn how to edit the pictures. So the softwares and the apps, or if you have taken it in the phone, then using the apps are much more convenient, and there are in the desktop or the laptop you could use Photoshop to do that, but understanding Photoshop is a completely different subject. So I'm going to teach you in a much simpler way. So the apps that I am going to teach you are going to be Snapseed and Canva. And I've been using Snapseed for quite a while until Canva came into picture. These days, Canva has been the predominant software for editing pictures. And I really like the output that I get out of Canva. So I'm going to show you in step by step of the pictures that we've taken now, how do we put it on Canva and then be able to edit them to get the output that we want. So we keep producing consistent pictures of what we've taken with the setup that we've made. So this is the Canva's website. When you go on to the URL part, you just type Canva, and this is the screen that you get. Okay, now I have chosen the images that I need to edit in the downloads. Okay, so this is the cake, that the photos that I shot, okay, in the lesson. And I also have the cookies picture, and now I'm just going to use these both to edit and show. Now here on the create design on the right top corner, you find the edit photo. You click on that and go pick up the image that you had shot. Okay, now the image opens in the same size that it was shot. Now we'll edit the image, click on edit image, and then you see the adjust here. Okay, now let me click on see all, and then you have all these options. And the first thing is, let's just increase. So not all the pictures have to be done with the exact same formula, but we have to see, because depending on how much light we have had during the day of the time, right? Now I'm just going to reduce, see what's happening. It's just becoming a dark mode kind of picture, right? And if there was a good amount of light when we had shot the picture itself, like too much brightness is going to bleach. So you don't want to do that. So just get it to a range where the elements on the sides of the cake are not too bleaching. Like if you make it like that, you're not able to show the actual color of the cake, but the brightness is increased. Okay, so let me just settle down with somewhere around 12. Now let me increase the contrast to check what's happening. Right now you reduce, you see it is just becoming very hazy, right? So I'm just going to increase a little bit of the contrast. Okay, and saturation is just going to make it a bit of yellow tint will be there. You can see the color, you reduce the saturation, you can see the color is just becoming paler. Now on 0 itself, it looks fine for me. The next thing I want to do here is highlights. Just want to reduce and see. Okay, and some clarity. Increase a bit of the clarity, but you don't want to give out. Sometimes it'll just become a bit grainy. Okay, warmth will just make it like there is like too much of sunlight in the yellow side. I usually don't put the warmth. Okay, so sometimes I like using the blur, but then I just go on the reverse. So what the blur on the other side. The right side, as is just it blurs the image, right? But sometimes I just reduce the blur, and what that will do, let me just keep the image in close up so we can better see. To get the image in close up, I'm just increasing the percentage on the right bottom corner, right? So what blur does, I'm going to edit images, going back, and you can see I'm just doing the extreme blur, so it will become too grainy. So what that little bit of blur will do, will just give a little more clarity and definition to your elements that are there, or any textures that you have used. It will just increase. So this is like too much, which you don't want to show on a smooth surface of the cake. Now if that is going to show some definition of the petals that is done there, then you could add, this is 0. If it looks smooth and nice, you leave it. But if there is a textured cake, then you can reduce the blur so the texture is shown good. Okay, so I'll just go check back on whatever I've done. There was a 12 of the brightness, right? I'm just going to enter in the keyboard 12 and then see if that one is good. Let me just do a 0. Now if there was enough light when you had taken the picture, you don't have to increase the brightness so much. So I'm just going to make the contrast to 0 and check how it is. Now going back to 11, I'll just keep it at 11, and then there is this clarity, and we had not added anything else. So depending on how we've shot, you just have your images edited here. I'm going to put back the blur to 0. Okay, and once that is done, just head back to check. So now you download this image. So once you've edited the image, you have to rename. Okay, and so it will just stay there, and you can go and search back and then start editing from where you left, and then save it as PNG, and then it gets saved in your downloads. You could go to your downloads and then use it up again. Okay, now for the cookies, I head back to the home, create a design, edit the picture, and I'm going to pick up the cookies picture that was shot. Clicking on the edit image and heading back to see all. Now I'm just going to increase the brightness, contrast, a bit of saturation. Let me reduce the blur here to check if the clarity of the cookies and the filling is seen. Now we just see it at 0. And at 14, you can check that the texture of the cookies sound with more clarity. It looks like your camera has captured a lot of details with the blur reducing. But then obviously if you go beyond a certain point, then it looks grainy. So you have to know how much blur you can just reduce. So obviously this opposite, this is the actual blur effect, okay? But we are just doing the reverse to make it look like the camera has captured a lot of details. Warmth is like the BG itself will turn into yellow. A bit of clarity, and then I'm going to add the highlights. So highlights will just make the BG also turn like quite bright. Okay. So I'm just going to name. Okay, name the cookie and then download it. So this is the image that was edited, and this is the image that was there before the edit. Okay, so you can see the brightness. This itself is quite a good quality picture because of the reflector that we have used and the good amount of sunlight that was falling on the cake, right? So this is the one before, and this is the one that was done after editing. We just added a bit more light onto the cake. Okay, we just compare the cookies also. So this one before edit and this one is after edit. So you can see the blur thing has just increased the clarity, showing the texture of the cookie in much more detail, and the light is increased, the BG has lightened up. So this right side is the before one and the left side is the one that is there after edit. So now I also wanted to show you another third image that we had taken, which is the Humpty Dumpty tiered cake, which has a lot of colors. So let's see how this one is going to turn with editing. So go back, create a design, edit the picture, pick up the image, edit image, and see all. Now let's see what happens if you're going to increase the brightness. Now, because there is like quite a different number of colors in the cake, the brightness that's increased adds value here, and then a bit of contrast. Saturation, I don't want to do. Blur, let me see what happens. Now to see what blur does, let's just get close. Now that is like too much of blur, right? Let me stay here at 0 first, and then closely watch as I go to the left. I'll just stop here. So, but then I have added a little bit of blur. You can choose not to add if you like the smoothness to keep it that way, because also the Humpty Dumpty surface will just start looking grainy if you're going to add the blur, maybe a little bit. And clarity, I'm just going to reduce the size so we could see the entire cake as we edit. Clarity is added, highlight is added. Okay, I just want to see the Humpty's face starting to look bleached. Okay, so we just need to take a look at that and see which is making the bleachy effect. Let me reduce the brightness. You have to make sure that you shouldn't have the elements, because there is like enough color here and then the Humpty's body is in white color. You have to make sure the details of that particular element also to be not very bleachy. Okay, so now I'm happy with how this has turned out. So I'm just going to save this as well. So that's saving. I'm just going to open up the one that was there before edit. This one is after edit. You can see it's just gone a little brighter. Okay, so with the reflector, so generally editing will require, when the light source is not pretty great, then you have a pretty decent transition between the before and the after. But here the picture itself was kind of taken with good amount of light, but you can see near the Humpty, you can see there is brightness. Overall, the picture itself is just brightened. Okay, so when you're working with different sets of lights, then the most important thing that you need to do is to get back here on the Canva, and these are the elements that you will have. You can just work on with the rest of the others, but these are the major key values or the elements that you need to change, increase and decrease depending on the light that you had used to take your picture. So I'm just going to show how do you watermark, right? So you take a picture and then you have to watermark your images, right? So you upload media. Okay, so I just started off with here the uploads and then upload media, get to D logo, and then I'm just picking one of the Fondbites is logo, and that gets uploaded here. And once you have that, you click on it. You want the watermark, the logo to be transparent, a PNG image. So the BG is kind of transparent. Okay. Now the color of this logo is black, right? So depending on whether you have a dark BG like that, if you have a black BG that you had used. So once the logo is placed here, resize it. I don't really believe in putting it right on top of the cake to protect the image because we really want the cake also to be seen. So to just make a point that this is your cake, the size of it shouldn't be like, too over powering like this somewhere to just make sure that people look at the logo here and not the cake. But then you want the cake to be the hero here, and just get your logo on the top or just maybe bring it to the bottom. And in case if you want to put it on the image a bit, then there is this transparency thing, and you just reduce the transparency a bit. If you don't want it like, too bright, if you think that it is just the extreme black color is just overpowering, because there are a good amount of colors here and you don't want the logo to take the stage. So just reduce the transparency a bit. So it just turns a bit gray, and then you can place it so it looks subtle and not too bright. Okay, so you can place it anywhere, and then the final image looks like that. Okay, so in this we've just learned how to edit the image, right, with these elements, and then finally to also add the logo and then reduce the logo's transparency and the size, and to place them in such a way that it complements the cake picture that you have taken.